Welcome to the Content 10X Podcast, the show where content creators learn how to harness the power of content repurposing. And now, your host, Amy Woods.
Hello and welcome to this week's podcast episode. I am your host, Amy Woods, and this week is called How to Repurpose Your Speech for Maximum Social Media Impact. This is going to be a great podcast episode for anybody who is a professional speaker. So you are paid to speak as part of your core revenue generating aspect to your business. For anybody like myself who delivers talks occasionally as part of our business. For people who deliver talks for different reasons, not just for business. Perhaps you have delivered a TED or a TEDx or you're planning on doing so. And it's also great for people who do any kind of speaking in front of audiences. It doesn't have to be big stages. It could be delivering workshops and seminars. And for all of the above, perhaps you do this now, or perhaps it's something that you're planning on doing, then this is going to be a really great podcast episode for you. Specifically, we're going to look at how you can repurpose the videos and photographs that you can get from these speaking opportunities for social media. Now, walking off stage after delivering a talk, whether it's your first or your 1,000th, is one of the best feelings. Well, it is if everything goes right, of course, but I know this from first-hand experience. Last year, I did quite a lot of speaking at Upreneur Summit, Podcast Movement, Podfest, Retain Live, Agency Transformation Live, Pods Up North. I did a lot of speaking last year, and you get that mixture of excitement and adrenaline, and also just pride is something that we as speakers can get when we come off stage. And if we're lucky, the event organisers will provide us with photographs and also video footage of our speeches. And if they don't, then it can often be a really great idea to organise that. So to organise a videographer or a photographer, or preferably both, to capture your moment on stage in video and in photographs. And then when you have that content, the question is, what do you do with it? Now, are you making the most of it, or is it gathering dust, much to your frustration? Now, when I speak to lots of speakers, it usually is the latter, that they have this video content and they have photographs and they get frustrated that they are not really doing anything with it. But what if I told you that you could repurpose that? So you could turn it into a powerful set of content marketing assets that will help you grow your audience, your reach, and your impact. So what we're going to talk about is repurposing your speech, repurposing that moment on stage. And I'm going to share in this week's episode how you can create quality, platform-specific content by repurposing your speech that really is going to help you grow your audience. It's going to help you enhance your authority, prove your ability as a speaker as well, and ultimately help you grow your business. Okay, so let's jump in. So as a speaker, when you get your video footage from your talk, it's often seen as the perfect tool for perfecting your delivery and your pacing. You can look back through and you can work out how you want to make some changes, how you want to perhaps land a punchline better, and all that good stuff. And if you want any tips and advice, or just an insight into the world of how speakers do create some of the best talks you've ever heard, then you should listen to Jay Baer's podcast, Standing Ovation. We at Content 10X are the lead sponsor on the Standing Ovation show. And Jay, our wonderful client, he talks to some of the best speakers in the world about how they craft their talks and how they have refined and perfected it over the years. So I really recommend go checking that show out. But as I said, you get your video footage, and that's something that you can do with it. But then as a content repurposing expert, as I am, I see the video footage from your talk as a goldmine of digital content. Now, lots of people will perhaps take the video and publish it onto YouTube or Vimeo, and then maybe on their website, maybe not, maybe do some tweaks, that kind of thing. But I promise you, there's so much you can do to repurpose this content. And why do you want to do this? Well, even the most jaw-dropping, eye-opening, brain-busting speech will fade in people's memories, and everyone isn't always lucky to be in the room to see you speak as well. So we want to remind people who were there how awesome you were on stage. We want to spread that message to people who were not in the room. We want to help you solve that quandary of what on earth are you next going to post on social media that is directly relevant to you, your brand, your message, and who you are. And we want to showcase how great you are as well. So there's all those different reasons why we really want to do something with this content. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I've been really fortunate to speak on stages all around the world about content repurposing. I did lots of speaking last year. I've not got as much planned this year, but I've still got quite a few different events that I'm going to be going to speak at. The next one being Radio Days Europe in Lisbon in Portugal at the end of March. Now, whenever I know that I'm going to be provided with videos and photographs of my talk. And that's always a really key question that I ask organisers when they ask me if I'm going to speak, what kind of content will I be provided with? And important tip to ask what you will be able to do with that as well. So if you're given photographs or videos, how will you be able to share them and what kind of, maybe restrictions will there be? But anyway, I always check what I'll get. And if I'm told, yep, you'll get video and photographs, I get firstly very excited. And then I get my team geared up to do some epic repurposing of that content. Let me share an example of what we do. So when I spoke at Repreneur Summit in 2019, a really fantastic event put on by Chris Ducker in London in the UK. Here's some of the things we created. So firstly, we created a video trailer, which was about 5 minutes long. So it condensed the 30-minute talk down into this 5-minute trailer, which consisted of different clips, highlights of the talk. So I think it was around, 3 to 5 maybe different highlights of the talk, each around, a minute, just over a minute. That came a video trailer, a little bit like a movie trailer really, with a different transition for each clip as it showed up, with a thumbnail at the start and then with a closing call to action at the end. And that was a show reel, a trailer of my talk. And with that, we were then able to post that onto YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook. And we repurposed it from being a landscape video to a vertical video and turned that into an IGTV video trailer as well. So we were able to utilize different platforms and different aspect ratios to get the most out of that video trailer. And if you want to see examples of this, of everything that I just discussed with the video trailer and also what I'm about to talk about with more trailers and quote images, then just head to content10x.com/125 because that's the blog post associated with this week's podcast episode and has examples of everything that I talk about. We also repurposed the video into short teaser videos, making more content for social media. So we were able to turn them into square, landscape and portrait format to suit Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, stories, and just chose lots of interesting, insightful, entertaining and value-add clips that were very well branded. And we shared them on all of the social media platforms. So lots and lots of social media engaging videos to share across the platforms. We also took quote images as well. So where we had really great photographs, we were able to pair them with important points that were made on the stage, great tips that were made, and quotes as well, and share those out on all of the different social platforms, making sure that each one was the right size and the right format for each platform. Now, from this approach alone, and that's just looking at the videos and photographs, so we're not going any further in this episode with what you can do with audio and written content that you create. We're just looking at social here. We created loads and loads and loads and loads of assets that can keep going out on all the social media platforms for not just weeks, but months now from that content delivered on that one event, that one speech at Repreneur Summit. Now, there are more ways that you can repurpose your speech, and I've spoken about this before in other podcast episodes. So check out my podcast episode called Podcast Movement, How to Become Loved as a Podcaster by Those Who Hate Podcast. This is where I repurposed my Ignite podcast movement talk in 2018 into a blog post and a video presentation. And you can check that one out at content10x.com/43 and find out more about what we did there. Also, In my episode called How to Repurpose a TEDx Talk, I spoke to my good friend Mark Asquith, CEO of Rebel Base Media, and we talked all about how he repurposed his TEDx. That can be found at content10x.com/86. Loads and loads of creative ways that Mark repurposed his TEDx talk, and also how we worked with Mark to repurpose his videos and photographs as well. And also check out podcast episode 68, so content10x.com/68, called Creative Content Repurposing Slides to a Comic Book. And this is how I shared how I literally did that. I repurposed the awesome slides that my team created for one of my talks into a comic book, and then all the things that we did with the comic book as well. So I'm really fortunate. I mentioned team there. I have a team full of skillful creatives who make this happen for me and my talks. And then I see the impact of this on my business and my personal brand. Now, we have a service at Content 10x called Talk 10x, where my team deliver to other speakers what they have been delivering for me, and we do this repurposing. So if you want to find out more about that, head to content10x.com/talk10x. But if you're doing it yourself, let me just dig in with some tips as to how to create content from your talks if you're going to do this yourself. So the guiding principle of repurposing your speech, if you have a video of it, is to turn your highlights into standalone content that you can share in lots of different formats and online locations. So that basically means taking some of your most killer insights and sharing them in videos, text posts, quote images, and more. And then before long, one talk will become 15 to 20 to 30 to 40, whatever pieces of content. So I've mentioned this before, but the caveat is that you must check that the event organizer wants you to do this or allows you to do this. So check what rights you have to share the content. For example, last year, one of the talks I delivered, I could share any and all of the video and images, but another one was very specific that I could only share short snippets of the video and not the whole video in entirety. So just make sure that you have the rights to repurpose the content that you're provided with. So for creating a video trailer or a video showcase of that particular talk, you want to watch the video back and look for sections of your talk which either tease at a solution you are offering the audience or cover your key points. Ideally, you want 3 to 5 clips that total around 3 to 4 to 5 minutes, no more than 5 minutes really. And you are going to stitch them together using video editing software like iMovie, Final Cut Pro, Filmora, Adobe Premiere, whichever you are familiar with. And you'll stitch together these standalone pieces of content from your talk. It could be following the same story through the talk, making sure that you really tease people with what you are sharing with your audience on stage. Add value, pick up some really great pointers, some really great tips, a really great story. Maybe it's up to you. It depends on your sentiment as to whether you are going to hold back punchlines or whether you want to make sure that they're only delivered in person and just tease them. But just give some thought as to what these clips will be to really create that engaging trailer. What you want to do is you want to create some graphics to go with the trailer as well. So using a site like PicMonkey or Canva. Canva is our favourite here at Content 10x. And that's what you'll use to create a closing call to action at the end. So you go ahead and you edit the video together. And when you export the video, just make sure that you're exporting it in the right dimensions and resolution for YouTube. And then if you want to go ahead and repurpose that then into an IGTV trailer, so you have a horizontal version of the trailer, which is great for, YouTube, and all of the horizontal platforms are basically pretty much all of the platforms except IGTV and stories. If you want to then go ahead and repurpose it for IGTV and stories, then check out content10x.com/89, my podcast and blog post and video tutorial too, called Repurposing YouTube Videos onto IGTV. Okay, so once we have our great engaging video trailer, we then want to create a custom thumbnail. So having a custom thumbnail to post with your video trailer on YouTube can make the world of difference when it comes to people noticing the video, it's standing out in search results, and ultimately, people clicking on it, being intrigued and watching the video. So thumbnails are so important on YouTube, but also you can upload the custom thumbnail to Facebook as well and to other sites that you may be uploading the trailer too. So they're not just for YouTube, but we create them with YouTube in mind. And so again, use something like Canva, which we really recommend, or PicMonkey, or whichever you use, Photoshop, whatever graphic design software, or work with a graphic designer to create you these thumbnails. It is really valuable real estate on the page, and by selecting a great still image or using one of the photographs of you on stage with short and snappy titles can really grab viewers' attention. So then the next thing that I mentioned was creating short video teasers that can be used on the social media platforms. So here we're talking about selecting clips which are entertaining, enlightening, interesting, and ideally under 60 seconds so that they're optimized for sharing on all the social media sites. So in particular, that restriction 60 seconds is for Instagram posts, but we always try and keep them under 60 seconds anyway for Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook as well, because we think that works really, really well. And now when creating them in square for Instagram or vertical for stories, consider creating frames that go around the video. So you've got this video in horizontal format, and then when you want to post them on Instagram in square or in stories, the best thing that we recommend is to go to a site like Canva and create a canvas for the video to sit on. The canvas is in the perfect dimensions for be it square or vertical, and then you place your video onto that canvas and make it really well branded. That's when you can add a title and captions and logos and really make the video teaser come to life and look perfect for that social media platform. And again, you're going to use video editing software to bring together this canvas with the video. And I recommend ordering captions or subtitles, whatever you want to call them, from Rev. Again, there are some sites that will generate subtitles at a cheaper price, but we find Rev is so worth the money because it is always almost 100% accurate, or as near as accurate as possible. And you don't spend lots of time correcting the errors picked up by the AI transcripts that can be created. And subtitles are just great on videos for people on social media because people don't necessarily watch videos at all with their sound on social media. And it's just great for, people with hearing impairments, for example, as well. It just makes the videos a lot more accessible. Now, once you have your captions file from Rev, your SRT file, or if you don't use Rev, wherever you get your caption file, we also really recommend that you then burn these captions onto the video. So you actually, they're kind of hard coded onto the video versus it being a choice whether people have captions or not, which you can have on YouTube. But on social, we just want them right there on the video. And we at Content 10X use a program called Submerge to burn captions onto our videos. I know there are other options out there as well. Capwing is one that you can try, and it varies depending on whether you're on Mac or PC as well. But you want to get those captions burnt onto your social media teaser videos, and then you have all these videos. You can create as many as you want. There's no limit when you're doing it for yourself, but just try and choose lots of different great clips in those different formats for the platforms that you are on social media. And then we want to look at creating some great images to share on social media as well. So we've looked at videos, but I mentioned at the start of this episode that maybe you can get some photographs of you delivering your speech on stage, or if you can't get photographs, if you don't have any from a professional photographer, don't hesitate to ask people who you know who are there and maybe line somebody up who can take photographs for you if there isn't anyone professional. But also, if you have the video, you can look to take some still images from the video and use those as photographs as well. And then use a site like Canva. Again, I've mentioned this a few times, but we love it a lot here at Content 10X, and pick out some great quotes and some points made, maybe even a question that you could ask your audience, but different types of content that you can use with these wonderful images of you on stage to share on social media. And it doesn't necessarily have to be directly related to the talk. Of course, if you've got these photographs of you on stage, you can use them just to share them on social media with no quote at all on them. Just share those images with great captions, sharing your experience on stage and where you were and what you talked about. But also, think about quote images. Some people love them, some people hate them. So whatever suits you and your social media and your brand, but at least do go and share those photos from your talk or screenshots from the video on your social media. So once you have created all of these assets from your speech, you need to work out how you are going to get it out there into the world. And I really recommend having a platform-focused approach. So you've created different content and you can now share it on, let's say, LinkedIn, and maybe you're also going to share it on TikTok, but you're going to have a completely different approach for LinkedIn versus TikTok. So just think about the platform and what will engage people and what people are there for. Bear that in mind with what you share, but of course, very importantly, bear that in mind with the engaging copy that you write as well. So craft your copy really carefully, trying to hook your audience in the first line. You want to entice them to read more and press play on the video or like or comment on or share that content. So there you have it. That's lots of different ideas to share with you today on how we at Content 10X repurpose videos and photographs of speeches delivered on stages, whether it's on huge keynote stages all the way through to small seminars and everything in between. There's so many repurposing opportunities for speakers. Now, if you're getting excited about all the possibilities to repurpose your speech when you have video or photograph, maybe you know that you've got lots and lots of videos and photographs from speeches that you can repurpose and you're feeling really inspired, or maybe you are planning on doing some talks in the future and now you feel like you're going to have a great plan for what you're going to do with that content. Now, I've got a really great checklist for you. It's called the Ultimate Checklist to Repurpose Your Speech for Social Media, and it covers everything that I've talked about in this episode, plus some extra tips and some extra ideas. So head to content10x.com/repurpose speech, and you will be able to get our checklist. Again, it's the ultimate checklist to repurpose your speech for social media. And I really recommend it for anybody who does any kind of speaking. And also, we totally get that you are busy and maybe you don't have the time or the skills or the desire to do any of this yourself. And if that's the case, then you should really get in touch with us about our Talk 10x service for speakers. Just head to content10x.com/talk10x and you'll find out how we provide a really great, comprehensive and creative service to help speakers maximize their time on stage and create lots and lots and lots of content for sharing all over social media. So again, that's content10x.com/talk10x. So all that's left to say is thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. I really do appreciate it. If you aren't following us on social media, then please do. We're at Content 10X on all of the social media platforms, probably most prominent on Instagram, but you can catch me on all of them. And yeah, do head on over to content10x.com if you want to find out more about what we do as well. So thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you in the next episode.